So check this one out. Hi, my name is James Lantine, and welcome to Magic Talk.
Is this Channel 7?
True dramatic?
No, I think it's pretty good, man. I don't know. I was captivated.
I felt like you were trying to go, especially with your color of choice, that you were auditioning to be Ron Burgundy, the new one.
The
Because
new
you
one?
know, well, I mean,
There's another one?
Will Ferrell is too old to play Ron Burgundy.
What I mean is there's a new Anchorman coming out?
I don't know.
Or
I
you
don't
just,
think
this is an idea you came up with?
so. Yeah.
Okay, you got to be careful around me with that stuff. I was like, what? How did I not hear?
I'm usually in the loop. What happened here?
I just thought that was nice.
I think it's pretty funny. We're going with funny, right?
Yeah, I hope so.
Sexy.
Work on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Work on it.
Anyway, we are going to be talking about secrecy. Is it important? Now, if you're having an affair, I would say yes, it is.
Or if you're a ninja.
That's true. Come on, right?
But we'll be right back.
Rough Edge FM. Irritatingly irresistible internet radio at roughedgefm.com.
The art of magic is mystery, majesty, pageantry, and craft. It's also about history, marketing, networking, and more. All of these topics and others are discussed on Magic Talk with your hosts, renowned magician James Lantine and owner of the White Rabbit Magic Shop, Joshua Lantine, now on Rough Edge FM.
Okay,
And let's not forget about Doug. I mean, Greg.
I didn't know they changed my name. I was like, I missed the memo on that one. I guess I'm now Doug.
Well, you went from Greg whatever to Alexander.
That's true.
What is your last name?
Wengert.
Wengert.
Yeah, but if we were, in Germany, it would be Wengert. Wengert.
Sounds more.
Sounds angry.
Yeah,
Sounds authoritative.
yeah,
Actually.
that's the language.
Just sounds angry.
Well, actually, most French people would assume so, because they would assume, yes, that's the sound of anger and hostility and frustration, and all they think is, no, I'm strong. I know what I'm doing, and you should think that I know what I'm doing. So I'm going to sound like I know what I'm doing. So there you go.
Do you know what you're doing?
I try, but I question it every day.
I know. Anyway, so today I wanted to get into the conversation of secrecy
Now, before
as
we
it relates
go,
to magic
I'm
and technology.
going to ask you something. Do you want a debate where we have differing opinions on this whole topic?
I don't know, because Jim is a master debater, so we might not even want to go. No, didn't work.
That's we won't touch
So
that.
it worked beautifully. No, so I want to talk about that, and I also want to talk about technology.
Okay.
Okay.
I only want to know because mine is a pretty staunch opinion on the matter.
On the secrecy matter.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so I want your actual opinion. I don't want you to make one up just so that you can be on whatever side you think you should be on.
Or what you want as far as the debate floor is concerned.
Are we debating? Is this a debate?
Could be.
It sounds so official.
Well,
There's 3 people.
It depends on, I'm the
I
moderator.
disagree
Oh,
with
so-
all of you.
Why?
I don't know yet. You have to tell me your opinion.
He's concocting all of it up on the fly.
So,
Very high school. I appreciate it.
Anyway, so here's the deal. Obviously, there's a lot of magic that is revealed. Like, a lot of magic. You can go on YouTube and...
In what context? Actually, I was going to ask.
Okay.
How do you
So,
mean that one with revealing it?
so even in the case of, we always say that we reveal things that are in the public domain when we teach our magic classes and things like that.
Usually.
But the reality is there's a lot of stuff in the public domain. Stuff that you wouldn't otherwise want to necessarily be revealed.
Okay.
So using that as your criteria, saying, well, if it's in the public domain, then it's okay to reveal the secret, is kind of a stretch, because there's a lot of stuff in the public domain that shouldn't necessarily be in the public domain. But regardless of all of that, So I was at the castle yesterday, and there was a couple magicians there that two of them were, one of them was very old school. So he's doing the traditional style of magic, you know, the cards, appearing cards, and you know, doing that kind of thing.
Okay.
And the cane and the silks and whatnot. Nothing.
An old fashioned show.
What
Very
day? This is in the parlor?
No, this was on the at the palace.
Oh, at the palace. Okay.
Yeah. So nothing. Very old school, very traditional, kind of like a Lincoln Bond style
Okay.
magician. You know, the tux, the tails, the you know, all the music, silent vaudeville kind of style of the show. And the I think there's a lot of peaks, or there's a lot of flashing going on in that kind of a magic, where you kind of ask yourself, is it me because I'm a magician and I catch it, or were those things really flashed? And the audience doesn't care just because it's so beautiful. So the secret really doesn't matter. It's just the way that it's presented and how masterful it is just a beautiful thing. So it's kind of like, it's not really that they're in awe over the trick. It's more of the, wow, that's,
I'd say it's a mixed bag.
yeah.
You know, definitely. I think it would be really hard to single one of those things out. I would say it's a little of all of that.
And I would give.
He is a politician.
No, but to be like 100% honest, I would say like someone like, for instance, who's at the castle for the first time, simply like being in the palace and, you know, looking around and just kind of being taken back by the experience alone is going to kind of take away their sensitivity to little things.
Okay, I agree with
Do you
that.
see what I mean?
Yes.
And also there's particular misdirection installed into these routines that I think someone who's never seen magic is going to be a lot more likely to fall for or to follow. We'll just say instead of fall for, to follow.
Mhm.
Right? In which case they may miss those flashes.
Right.
But if you've been to the castle before, maybe you've seen magic from time to time, maybe you're going to be one of the people to notice a little bit more of the flashing, because those classic styles of misdirection may not be you might not be so susceptible to them now, if that makes any sense.
Mhm.
And then you'll have someone like yourself who's really not going to fall for any of those types of misdirections. Just really their attention's not going to even go there, and you're going to be a lot more critical, right? Over just subconsciously more critical. I find that I do that a lot myself too when I'm observing magic. I'll start, I'm like, oh wait a minute, you know.
So
I have to
one
pull
of
it
the
back a
things,
little bit.
one of the things that I pride myself in being able to do when I go see a magic show is to go there as a spectator and not try to dissect it.
Suspend your own disbelief, which is what we ask of our own spectators, right?
Yes.
And then most of the time we can't even do so ourselves.
Yeah.
Isn't that
And I
interesting?
do that at every show that I try to go to. I just try to simply just be in the moment and enjoy what I'm seeing. But, and I think the other reality is, I mean, let's face it, we see magic all the time. Most people don't see a magic show even once a year.
Mhm.
Most people, there are a lot of people who have never even seen a magic show, period.
Mhm.
So for us,
Notice that the further away you get from California, actually,
yeah,
is the likelihood that you've actually seen a magic show is slim in a lot of places. Just in the United States, it's like, you know, oh, there's a magic show? Where? I've never
Right.
seen a magic show. Like, do you live under a rock? Like, no, I just don't live in California.
Yeah.
Basically.
yeah. I mean, you might have seen one on TV, but the reality is a lot of people don't see live magic. And a friend of mine is performing at the castle this week. His name is BJ Hickman. He is from Portsmouth, New Hampshire. He and I knew each other when I was back east, and he, we were talking about the whole membership of the castle and everything like that, and he decided a couple of years ago to not renew his membership. And I said, let's be honest. The only time the Magic Castle membership really means anything is if you're in Southern California. Back in New Hampshire, the majority of people don't even know what the Magic Castle is. So most places, if you say the Magic Castle, they're like, what? There's a castle? No, it's a place where it's magic. Oh, where's that? It's in California. Oh, really? What do? Well, they put on live shows. I mean, it means nothing, you know?
I don't know, though, for me, it means everything to me personally.
Yeah, exactly the point.
Yeah.
You live in California, though.
No,
But
like, I just mean,
I
as a
think as a
magician.
magician.
Yeah.
No, as a magician.
I think as a magician,
Yeah, most
the,
definitely.
the only thing the castle means outside of Southern California as a magician is just to be able to say, oh, how cool is that? I'm a member of the Magic Castle.
Most
But
other people have no idea what
it
you're talking
has-
about.
To the layperson, it has like zero bearing outside of California. There are so
Most-
many
yeah.
places. There are people that I've been to, and when I said we were moving out to California and everything like that, and it's like, oh, one of the first things I want to go do is go to the Magic Castle, and they're like, what's that? They have no idea.
Mhm.
So for the recognition or for the prestige of being able to say I'm a member of the Magic Castle, it really doesn't mean anything outside of this general area to anyone who's going to be booking you for a gig or anything like that. You know,
Mhm.
here, are you a member of the Magic Castle? In New Hampshire, nobody's asking you that.
Mhm.
You know,
I was going to say that you got the unless there's somebody in the know, because there's maybe once in a blue moon find one guy or one client who's heard of it,
Yeah.
and knows the importance of it, so to speak,
right?
or somebody that they know knows of the importance, told them about it, and then they're like, oh, maybe I should ask about that. And other than that, that's like what, once in a blue moon,
Yeah,
and a very blue moon.
You know, there's obviously always going to be the exception, but for the most part, it's just doesn't matter. It's not an important aspect as to whether or not you can come perform for my venue or my event.
Yeah.
Because I don't even know what that place is. So
And notice that the people here, the only people that really affects are other magicians.
right.
I only want you performing if you're a Magic Castle magician from another Magic Castle magician.
Right.
Not necessarily from somebody who is doing a corporate thing or somebody who's putting on a big stage show. It's a bonus if you're a Magic Castle member, but usually, like we're just speaking about it in relation to a layperson, I don't think they particularly care.
Right.
They're worried about this, and then they're also worried about, are you any good? What are
Right.
your references?
And most of the time, it's more just this.
Exactly.
Because you have glowing references, but as soon as you talk about this, they'll be like, do you have any friends?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's a little pricey, out of the budget. Is there anybody who's cheaper?
So it's funny. We all have a friend by the name of Doug Coleman who's a stuntman, and he said there's actually 5 stages to Doug. The first stage is, who's Doug Coleman? The second stage,
He's a very complicated butterfly. He's gone through, I don't know how many metamorphoses or
Yeah.
metamorphosi.
well, he's in the third one right now. I think.
It's that third of evolution.
Yeah. And then the second one is Get Me Doug Coleman. The third one is wait, no, the second, I forget what the second one is. The third one is Get Me Doug Coleman. The fourth one is Get Me a Cheaper Version of Doug Coleman. And the fifth one is Who's Doug Coleman?
It's who's Doug Coleman? I've heard of him. And then it's Get Me Doug Coleman. Then it's oh, what about the cheaper one? And then it's the who's that?
Yeah.
So
So he's in the
I've metamorphosized
Yeah.
of one
That's
industry.
and that's kind of like, you know, what magic, you think about it, it's like you know, who's a magician? Oh, I'm a magician. All right, give me David Copperfield. You give me a cheaper version of David Copperfield. You know, and
Mhm.
so I think that when we book shows, there's a lot of times where, for the most part, we're always like, you know, who's Gregory Alexander?
Me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you didn't even know it at first.
No, I still don't. I'm still figuring it out. I'm muddling through, though.
Yeah,
I'm muddling
Somebody
through.
calls out your name, like,
And who I
Oh,
am as
wait,
Gregory Alexander this year is, well, actually, hopefully, will be completely different than who I am next year,
yes.
right? And onward and upward.
So let's go back to this whole secrecy thing. So
just establish the importance of a magician
yes,
in the world and in the grander scheme of the world outside of Southern California.
yes.
Okay, now we're going back into
Okay,
the
so
secrecy.
now we're going to go back to the secrecy thing. Linking rings. Would you call that a public domain trick, or would you call that a?
I mean, sure, you can
secrecy
go
trick?
buy it at Target. Like anywhere that has a magic kit is going to have linking rings in it.
Okay. Cups and balls, obviously.
I mean,
Public
they publicized that in Egypt, Jim.
Yeah.
When they first created it, right? The first trick ever was exposed on the walls of Egypt. So I mean, discussion over, right? Mic dropped.
There you go. A gimmick that is used to vanish handkerchiefs. Public domain, or
But yeah, you're still afraid to say it. A TT.
TT, Tata.
I actually forget that gimmick. It is on the tip of my tongue, though. I don't
You just
understand.
stabbed yourself with one.
So, public domain or not?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, yes, you could go get it at Barnes and Noble.
Yeah. A shell,
Like for a turtle.
coin.
Not so
No
much.
coins and shells.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know though. I don't know what the public knows.
No one does so.
Professor's nightmare.
You know, I don't think that's as public as we think. I think
No.
more people have seen it performed than seen it exposed. You know,
A levitation.
Not public domain. For the reason there are so many different varieties that you don't know who you're exposing.
Zigzag.
No.
nope.
Okay. So
No other one?
every trick I just mentioned can be looked up on YouTube and revealed.
Well, I mean, if we're talking about YouTube and being able to find it,
Fox, the mystery magician or the masked magician on Fox back in the 80s, very first trick the
Valentino.
very first trick he revealed was the zigzag on national TV.
Well, I mean, if we're going to go and hold it to that standard, you can go on
correct.
to YouTube and
Yeah,
find
so
anything. I can find
I
out
feel
how
like that was a loaded question, Jim.
Okay, so my
anything that David
question, though,
Copperfield does, I could find out how to do if I just do a Google search.
okay, but the point is that that's all in the public domain.
Uh-huh.
Coffee.
So at what point are you divulging something that is so secret that it steps outside of the public domain? There's really not much of anything that isn't somewhat revealed in the public domain.
Mm-hmm.
Let me place this. I know where you're going. Let me place it into this context. If somebody goes and leaves a vault door open, and then another person comes and says, "This is all of my treasure. These are all my secrets, right here." The door's open. Obviously, everybody can see inside. Don't steal anything out of it. Out of the goodness of your own heart, don't steal anything out of it. And then, or even worse yet, if you steal something out of it,
Translate that for me?
oh good God, you're not that old. You're not even 60
Okay,
yet.
I'm
You
with
can
you.
follow me.
All right, I'm with you.
But you've got that whole thing. You say, okay, we're going to go call this vault the internet. Right?
Okay,
The internet is completely open to anybody.
yes.
But then you say, don't steal anything out of it. All right. And if you're going to steal it and then profit on it from you for your own, then you get in trouble. And then it said, okay, this honor system, don't steal anything out of this vault right here. Would you condone me going in and stealing all of the information, or stealing, like, let's say it's money. You steal the money out of the vault.
And they left the vault open?
Yes. If you were to go and if you were to, as a good person, if you were to go and say, yeah, you're not supposed to do that.
So you left
You
your
know,
door
you know,
unlocked.
so an interesting thing. I'm just trying to think of this, not necessarily this, just in general. And I think one thing that we're all missing is like the allure of a secret.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of the times it's even about sharing a secret or not. I think it's about framing the fact that we have secrets, and that's what, in general, that's what makes us mystery entertainers. And that's also what makes what we do palatable for strangers or people that don't know about it is the fact that there are secrets and are mystery. I think whether the fact that they can simply go online and look them up is aside the point in the moment, right? While they're there to actually enjoy the show, the fact that they don't know in that moment is really what makes it enticing. And I highly doubt there's on average, people that are getting the opportunity to see magic for the first time are not trying to pre-educate themselves and go on YouTube and be like, you know what, I'm going to try before going to this show. I'm going to try to see if I can find out everything he's doing. So I'm going to watch some different tutorials right now and find out what kind of trickery I might be exposed to. I really don't think that's ever going to really enter most people's minds. I think they're going to be more thinking about the allure of the mystery. What am I going to be seeing? What could he possibly be doing that I might not even know about? Because I'm a pretty smart person. So what could he even do that would trick me? And, you know,
you have two takes on this whole theory.
But I'll stop there.
Okay.
But you know what I mean? I kind of feel like there's that, regardless of whether you can get it or not, the fact that you're framing it as mystery is just making it intriguing and enjoyable, and, you know, makes it something someone wants to see in general.
So one of the reasons why I'm framing this whole question in the first place is that we are so, you know, the book that I wrote, The Magic Mentor, is about taking magic and educating kids and teaching them the concept that's behind it. So this trick is with science, and here's the science behind it, and it's light refraction. Thank you. And this is what makes it work, and this is why it does what it does. Blah 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 blah. You know, here's a special powder, and it can absorb 1,000 times its size in water, and it was originally invented for fires where, you know, the house is now flooded, and they can just pour this powder in, and it absorbs it all, and then they, you know, so now magicians are using this for this purpose. And so you're teaching the science behind the method. Mathematics, you're teaching basic math skills using magic. So you're teaching them the four square, and you're teaching them this, and you're teaching them that, in order for the purpose of education. Okay?
Yes.
So when magic is taught in the guise of education, then there really is a broader limit, I think, as to what you can reveal for that purpose.
I might need to go check on my son.
Yeah.
That sounded like a head.
But that was for the purpose of it.
Timing. I thought it just shriek.
Sorry.
That's okay. So that was for the purpose of education. But there are still boundaries that I think as a magician we should be required to kind of fall within, to not go crazy and say, well, let me explain why somebody can levitate. And this is why they're able to do it, because this architectural or this engineering design allows it to be able to counter its weight, to be able, you know, I think there are some boundaries that you should follow as to what you're going to reveal. But I do think that the boundaries are expanded from a typical just me going out there and say, oh, hey, let me tell you how I do this, blah, 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 blah. So it's under the guise of education. The other point about this is that I think, for the most part, when someone sees a trick, they may be like, oh, how'd you do that? Oh my gosh, I want to see it. That was cool. I want to see how that works. Or, you know, I'm going to go try to figure that out, or I'm going to go look it up on the internet. Prior to that, I don't think there's anyone out there looking on the internet just for the sake of looking out on the internet.
Correct.
I think most people, lay people, could really care less. It's like they go see a show again. How many people actually really go to see a live show or see magic at all anyways? And so it's not like there's this whole swarm of people going in and saying, I got to do some research today, and I'm going to go online and I'm going to learn how to make somebody levitate or make somebody disappear or cut somebody in half. The only thing that's going to inspire that inquisitiveness is if they actually see a show and then they go back afterwards and they go, huh,
and
I wonder.
And what percentage of the people that do that end up becoming magicians themselves as well? The
Probably
people
quite
that
a
see
few.
a show They go online to try to figure out how that trick was done, and now all of a sudden they're a lot more intrigued in magic, and they just they continue to explore. And like I believe I've said this before in one of the other podcasts when we're talking about the Masked Magician. When I was a kid, any of those effects that I could recreate with cardboard or anything else I had laying around the house, I did. Like I would recreate all that stuff and try my best to try to replicate what he was showing. So for me, the Masked Magician was an absolute resource growing up because I didn't know how to find magic stuff because it was before YouTube and before internet was really popping like that. So that was like like to me, it was an absolute resource, not anything bad for the community. That was my way to actually get into the community.
Right.
Son of a gun. That's exactly what he tried to go and sell himself as too.
But
once he got caught.
It 100% worked for me in that sense, for sure. And also it shows you certain methods where you're like, yeah, cool, this is kind of an okay way to do it, but not the best. But it's putting you in that arena of thought. And now you're able to start to think about things more in a creative sense, as opposed to a cookie cutter. I bought a trick, followed a pattern, and just started presenting it in this manner. So, I mean, I know a lot of people hated the guy, but shout out Masked Magician, at least for me.
Cool.
Are we selling used cars now?
So
Probably.
So where do you think that line is for hands off and going in front of a classroom and saying, I'm going to teach you this trick? Where's that line?
I don't think there is one, man. I think we all want one. I think people want a line. I don't think there's anybody that has enough, wisdom and foresight to be able to draw one. And so I think I think that line kind of shifts and moves throughout our different areas of our community, right? Throughout our different areas of our community and who we talk to, really,
Yeah.
It feels like there's a context that needs to be addressed with it, as far as
Why are you doing it?
why exactly. Because it's like you were talking about, it was for education. That's admirable. You should do it for education, especially if it helps some kids really understand something that they might otherwise not be able to understand well. Because obviously not every person is the same way. And if this is a new way to look at something and to achieve something, phenomenal.
See, I think there are two aspects of magic. There's the aspect of magic that is entertaining, and then there's the aspect of magic of what it does for an individual in development.
With that, I have two very definitive answers for you. Entertainment, don't touch it. Why? Because I said so, because those are the rules. The other one right here, that one you should explore more. You should open the floodgates so that somebody can go and develop more or redevelop something that they've lost. Like with the project, what was that, Project Magic that David Copperfield did?
Yeah.
Exactly like that.
Stroke
I mean,
victims.
You're taking magic that otherwise would have been unknown to other people, for actually very specifically for people with rehabilitation, and then you are flat out exposing all of it and saying, do this because it will improve your life in this way if you stay to it. So in that regard, then that I feel like, much like with your education thing, that's perfectly fair game. The entertainment thing, don't be a jerk. Keep it a secret because it's more, actually, funny enough, I was watching an episode of Bluey with my son. This has a point, and the kids in this cartoon were going on, and one of the kids was like, let's just break the rules. Let's just go and break the rules. And they say, no, you can't. But why? Because you can't. Because they're the rules. You can't break the rules. And the whole episode went on that way. This one dog was trying to break the rules. The other dogs were like, no, you can't do it. Until it got to the end of the episode.
Do these dogs eat an apple at the end of the episode out of curiosity?
No.
It sounds like a familiar story.
They eat cake.
Instead of a dog, it was a snake, though, I remember.
They eat cake. But that one dog who kept breaking all the rules, or trying to break all the rules, that she ended up saying at the end of the episode, I know why you're not supposed to break the rules, because no one could give her a good answer as to why. And then she finally came up and said, because it makes it more fun. So don't break the rules on the entertainment side. Why? Because it makes it more fun.
I think we're gonna make rules about talking about Bluey.
Yeah.
Hey, go watch an episode of Bluey. There's a couple that'll make
I
you
will
cry.
not.
What? You do
I
not?
said I will not.
You are missing out. I'm only saying, not just for kids. But yes, it makes it more fun.
It does.
Yeah, and
Well said.
I think the reality is like the Lincoln rings, the cups and balls. These are all things that are found in magic kits. But if a pro handles those, the audience has no clue.
I was going to say, when's the last time you saw somebody with linking rings and said, oh, I know how that's done? And then you look at it and say, I don't know how that's done.
Right. So, all right.
Plenty of tricks like
We're going to
that.
go take a little break before we talk about technology.
Is it good? Should I buy it? Does it suck? Did I get ripped off? Is it more of a craft project than a magic trick? These questions and more answered now on the Magic Item of the Week here on Magic Talk.
Yes, 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 and no.
Okay. So that was Frozen in Time. And if you have any questions about the review,
Someone who just tuned in is going to be really confused. Right?
So this is Frozen in Time. Now there is a stage version that is actually a manual version to this. So somebody took Arvel.
Don't ask me. I was asking you, man.
Arvel.
That's,
Arvel.
I think that's Arvel magic.
Please, if anybody is associated with this company, let us know what it's actually how
Yeah,
it's
so we can
pronounced.
pronounce your name correctly.
We don't know what to say.
It's IARVEL. Arvel. That's what we're going with. Anyways, they came out with an electronic version of Frozen in Time. It is actually a very beautiful piece of magic.
It is very beautiful, very cool.
And so
It's a wooden box, and that's why it's beautiful.
So it comes in a beautiful wooden box, and essentially it is a picture that is encased in a frame, plexiglass frame, screwed in, so that picture cannot be manipulated. You can examine this thing till you are blue in the face. It is a picture, yet this picture can change time based on what somebody gives you for an hour. Now it's only based on the hour, which it'd be really cool if it could have done the minutes as well as the hour. But that's all right. It does change the hour, and the fact that they can take this out, they can look at it, and there is nothing about this other than the fact that it's a picture.
It's very, very, very fooling.
So it retails for $300. It is technology, but and you all know most of my opinions on technology. It's buyer beware, because sometimes an app can disappear off the store, and the one nice thing is that this is an app or a remote.
Now, does it
there you
do
go.
Apple and Android?
Yes, it does.
Excellent.
So
And I
How
can't
has
say
it held up so far, actually?
Well, I was going to speak. I haven't used this, but I do have their watch, and I've used it several times now. Probably about 20 to 30 live performances with it, and it's never failed.
Okay, so
It's never failed.
yeah,
as far as that's concerned, very reliable.
So far, my experience with their electronics has been very good.
but it's really a beautiful box, and very well made. And this picture is so deceptive. I mean,
It looks like a picture.
yeah, and it is a picture.
It is a picture.
But-
It doesn't look like anything other than what it is. It looks like a picture in plexiglass, and you put it into that box, and you take it out, it will be the time that they say.
it
Yes.
doesn't look like anything moves in the picture.
No.
Nothing. It looks just like what it
looks
is.
like what impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it retails for $300. We just got these in, And I definitely think, if you're the only thing, the thing about this is it's one of those deals where you're going to spend $300. And what is the routine really?
Oh, this is a utility device. This is a closer. This I would use as a closer.
So how would you,
for a more lengthy routine?
Yeah,
I would say if you just say name any time and you pull it out and it's in that box, you are doing a disservice, I would say, to the effect.
So how would
100%.
how would you, if I were to give this to you right now? And
Oh
say,
goodness, Jim, you got to give a man time. You want me to give you a whole routine right now?
want
I
you to
charge
tell
for
me
this.
How would you how would you use this?
Like I said, as a closer, an emotional time, I would have somebody try to, and I would do multiple reveals. I would maybe have inside here, prior to bringing it out, maybe I would do some sort of pre-show work possibly, but I would maybe do a reveal of a name and maybe I mean, not to get morbid, if you really want to get emotional and really, really get some impact with this, if anybody's had anybody pass away, right? So the name of the loved one and maybe around what time they passed away, or maybe, a specific time you had with that person that you really remember, that really touches your heart, a moment that you had in the snow with the person or something like this. And then I would, have it be done that way.
So I saw a magician yesterday at the castle. His name is Puck. And he talks about how he was raised in foster homes, and at the age of 5, he was actually adopted. And his dad had passed away, and then but his dad was incredibly supportive of him and his magic and everything like that. And then he learned who his biological father was, he was a jazz musician, who was a very famous jazz musician. And he found out he was actually named after his dad. And his dad had died by the time he finally discovered it. So the ending routine that he did was all these blank cards. And then he did the 4 ace assembly routine, ace vanishes, ace vanishes, but he did it with dad. And so he had dad with a heart, and then the D would vanish from here, D would vanish from there, D would vanish from there, and then it came out with dad. And then he did this spread where it said, dad's, I made it. And then he turned over the pictures. So this is all blank cards, and now it's saying dad's, I made it. And then he flips over the picture, and there's a picture of his dad and his biological dad side by side. So it was a very emotional draw, and that's how he closed the show. So it sounds like, kind of in that genre.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
definitely.
Cool. I've never heard of Spread 2.0 being done in that fashion.
Yeah. So
yeah, definitely like that. I would use it for something similar, because it's just such a strong, honestly, I feel that this is a very strong piece of magic. It's very, very cool.
So it's something that
to just go in and say, give me time. Hey, look.
Oh yeah.
A terrible disservice. I closing the show, or in the very least bit, closing a segment of a routine, or closing a routine. I know there's shows out there that's like several routines plugged into the same performance, so maybe not the end of it, but at least the end of, like, the period at the end of your routine.
Yeah. All right. That was a little long. Anyway, pros and cons. So you were saying?
Oh, I was gonna say it's kind of like Badlands Bob, where it's kind of, you can leave it out for somebody to go and play with it forever, and then it's almost like, why just kind of have it as a throwaway? It's something that's much more impactful if it's that
They
strong.
look at it and touch it and not be like, what the heck?
So pro for that reason, you can look, you can touch, you can feel, you can play with it till the cows come home, and you're never going to know.
Cons?
It won't fit in your pocket, so you're definitely going to need a case, or you're going to have to, it's a larger prop. It's a beautiful prop, but it's a larger prop. So, like, for instance, when I've been going to the castle,
the case to work.
correct.
Yeah, it's not like you can pull it out of the case.
When I've been going to the castle lately, it's been fun trying to figure out what to perform that just goes in my pockets and to not have an extra bag with me. This, I would definitely have to have an extra bag with me, but I would love to perform it. Yeah, definitely looks.
So
the
it
one
does
con-
require that for
the
the
box,
boxes
yeah.
required.
It would also be good if you already have an electronic watch that you're
See.
doing time reveals with, to have that as a separate kicker, because some people may think that even though it's an analog watch, you may actually be doing some sort of sneaky electronics with your watch. So if you're doing a cool routine with doing time reveals with an analog watch, I think that this would be an amazing kicker for a final time selection where it's an actual picture. And so anybody who's leading down the direction of a Bluetooth analog watch or anything like that will just absolutely get shattered as soon as you do that as your
Right.
final. So also for that, to take people off the path of that, I think would be very strong for that purpose too.
And I'm going to go with the con of the fact that it is technology.
I was going to say.
Technology can disappear.
And one other thing, I was just thinking about it too. Does this require a stooge?
No,
Okay.
It
it
does not.
certainly helps, makes
If you
life
had
a little bit easier because you don't have to worry about anything, but you don't have to.
There's several. If this is because this uses the same app that the watch uses, there are several solo input methods.
Okay.
It's quite detailed. I was pretty impressed.
All right. Well, and that's no longer a con for me. I was wondering because there's nothing wrong with using a stooge. I will say that right now. But
Excuse me,
it does.
I don't have a seizure anymore.
I have noticed that if for whatever reason you can't,
I don't know.
if for whatever reason you can't facilitate said stooge, it does kind of inconvenience you.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, then that doesn't even count.
Okay. So going off of that subject, the last thing I want to talk about is technology. In a magic shop, I will tell you that technology can be very costly because there are a lot of magic items that sit in your shop for a year or more. It's not like you bring something in and you sell it all. You're going to keep inventory. So if you do happen to sell something all, you're going to buy some more just to have them in stock, and then you're going to wait for a year or two for somebody else to come along and decide, oh, hey, I really wanted that thing, and we can't find it anywhere, and oh, you got one. And then you find out that the battery's discharged and you can't get them recharged. It will not recharge no matter what you do. You find out that the app is no longer available in the App Store. You find out that the technology has essentially malfunctioned or didn't work in the first place, but you didn't know it because you didn't open up every single product to test every single one. And so as a magic store, we have eaten a lot of technology because of charging, or because the app doesn't exist anymore, or because it was defective and it's too late to return.
And it tasted terrible, I gotta tell you. I don't know. I'm not a fan of
No, and
technology.
it's expensive.
Well, and it has a lifespan.
Yeah.
Because the newest technology of this year, a year from now, there's going to be newer tech too, as well. 2 years from now, even newer tech. And people that are looking for tech are going to want to buy the newest stuff possible. So there's also that problem.
So it's a risky proposition. So my thing is, most technology can be done without the technology. Most technology that you have, you can do the trick without. For example, we have what's the cube? The 3D cube, or the color cube that uses the iPhone.
More words.
Is it the RD Insta?
You didn't have more words for me.
That uses the iPhone.
Oh, that thing? That's iCube. And iCube is a trick that's supposed to be kind of like the
Color vision.
color vision, but it's using your iPhone.
Yes.
That they don't have the app available anymore, and it was very buggy.
So this is trash now, basically?
Well,
Practically.
we got a couple of them working again,
Goodness.
but
the app doesn't.
you
Isn't there.
can't get the app.
No,
Okay, I didn't know that.
I have the app on my phone and it still works. Thankfully enough, but I can't find it.
Okay, so here's the problem with this. aside from the things that we talked about with the problems of technology. So this is basically color vision, except the phone can tell you what color they have face up. So this thing cost $195 for this and this.
Because you get something else.
You don't even get a receiver.
No, your phone is your receiver.
Yeah.
And if the app doesn't exist anymore, then you don't have a receiver, so it's pointless. So the question is why am I spending $200 for this when I can do color vision for $5 and do exactly the same thing? So what $190 advantage does this have over color vision?
I would say none.
I-
at that point.
I will say one thing. When it worked, no, I have to say it. When it worked, in defense of this trick, the app itself was not just color vision. It was basically that, but it was even more impossible. Because say, for example, you picked a color, then you picked a color, then another person picked a color, then another person picked a color. This cube would be able to tell me that.
Okay.
It'd be able to tell me that person 1 picked green, person 3 picked blue, person
The
2
cube
picked.
tells you, or the app?
The app tells me. Well, the cube does tell you because it tells the app, and then the app keeps it in the
But you're
database.
getting the information from your phone.
Yeah.
Not from the cube.
Not from the cube.
The phone's getting the information from the cube.
Yes, it's in the order of in the pecking order of it all. It's cube, phone, magician. But regardless, you know what each person picked. Or one person could even go and pick a color, then pick another color, but then pick another color, then pick another color. Remember all 4 colors or whatever it is that they did, and you'll be able to ask them, do you want to know your third, fourth, second, or first color? And you can tell them.
But this goes with the conversation we were having prior to the podcast, right? I was speaking. We were speaking on this, and I was thinking that really, when you're using technology and when you're doing something that seems that impossible, it's really our responsibility as performers to create a routine that really allows the spectators to see how impossible that it could actually be. And if you're performing a technology-based effect that could just simply be switched out for an analog effect, then I feel like you're doing a disservice to the abilities that electronic effect is actually providing for you. And you may as well just do the analog effect at that point, and actually keep yourself protected from failure. And then it's all in your hands as far as the failure goes.
Right.
No doubt. No excuses at that point.
So it's a question of, it's like, okay, look, if you just want to do a simple reveal of a color, save your money.
Mhm.
But because of the technology, we can go a little bit further with this.
Mhm. And if you want to do that, then maybe take the technology route.
Okay.
Then it's only on the technology to make sure that it's actually going to work. Like this one we've had with this one, I would say we had 3. So 2 out of 3 times worked great. One of the times, actually, it wasn't programmed right, where the colors were wrong.
I think it's this
So-
one.
That one, so you flip one, you have one color facing up, and it tells you the wrong color.
Oh
Yeah,
no.
'cause they put the labels on.
So you're running into risk there. But I
Well,
mean,
You're obviously testing that out before you actually do it, though.
yeah, I hope so.
And then there are these phone apps like, Card Danny Number or anything like that, where, again, it algorithm, it's a cool app. It's pretty amazing what it can do in the sense of, but it's not you doing any of the magic whatsoever. It's the phone doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And, so it's the technology worth the risk. And to your point, if you do insert technology into your show, it's not going to be, Yeah, we have magicians that are performing the same set that they performed back in the 80s. If you're using technology, you're not performing the same set that you've been performing back in the 80s.
Mhm.
Your set has changed.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully.
You know, yeah, because it's not going to work anymore. Because the technology is going to get outdated. Something's going to go wrong with it. It's just not going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
So if you use technology, you got to be prepared that every 3 years, 5
You're
years,
replacing it.
something's changing
Mm-hmm.
in
Definitely.
that. So is the technology worth the magic? And does the technology take away from the magic? Because is it too easy to explain? Oh, it's technology.
Like I said, I think it goes back to the statement. It's all in our hands as the performers and how we're presenting it. Really, at that point.
I would agree with that. Maybe there's sometimes the technology does take away from it, because it's trying to fly too close to the sun, and it's becoming a disservice. Like with the watch, you just go use the watch as a one-off thing, and you just like, oh, look, the time's right, and then you throw it away. That's a disservice to it. So again, goes into the same idea of how do you present it, how do you fit it into your show type of deal. Like with algorithm, I feel like algorithm does have a place because it is still amazingly cool. Actually, whenever I've done it, I've always presented algorithm as a new app that I've been developing that I can take to Vegas, so I can be just like Rain Man. And so you see me typing away on my phone when I'm over at one of the tables, and you know exactly what I'm doing. And I'll explain. I'll show you what I mean. I'll let you in on my little secret. So at that point, yeah, maybe it's just the phone that's actually doing it, but it's more of an enticing type of. It's not just the phone. It's something I did that I'm doing with my phone. That I'm using my phone as a tool.
Yeah. I think that effect is just kind of one of those things where it's like, well, that's really cool. How can the phone even do that? But
at that point, the one saving grace with something like that is the ending.
Right.
Because it's not just, oh, it can predict what the card's going to be next. It knows the exact order of every single card in the deck. But
so let me ask you this.
Were you going into Vox a second ago about the whole card at any number?
Well, no, it's just one of the things that
that one is cool. That one doesn't even touch this because that's I just discovered that one and we sell it. I'm sad that I didn't try to go and explore it further when we first got it.
All right, so let me ask you one final question.
Uh-huh.
When it comes to technology, is your show heavily based or founded around technology?
No, it's enhanced by it, though. Definitely.
So there is technology that's being used, but it's not dependent upon all that technology. There's a fair amount of effects that are you.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
And it's enhanced by technology.
Correct. So my best trick best trick that I've been performing lately and getting really great reactions would be "Thy Will Be Done," which is like a $20 trick from D. Christopher, maybe 1914.
Yeah.
Right. And it's an equivoke, but I use the watch as a kicker. Right. So the effect is me having to do a convincing, equivoke, and then I'm using the technology at the end to emphasize, it's the punctuation at the end of the trick, So a little of both. And I would say that's a good, when I put routines together, that's a good example of that as well. It'd be, maybe 10 to 15% electronic and everything else would be me.
And you do use was that solo? What's
Solo show?
Solo show, yeah.
Yeah, solo show.
Which I suppose is a utility that helps to enhance.
It's a show controller.
Yeah.
It's just a show controller.
Yeah. So it's like having a stooge, but the stooge is on you. All you have to do is have your. Well, I mean, in the sense of you can make things react, or you can make sound, or
it's mainly just the trigger music.
Yeah.
But you could trigger actions, I guess. Yeah.
Yep. From what I saw of the whole thing, or at least maybe this isn't yours, but it's one of them, is you could go and if it hooks up to the computer, you can trigger it because it's using it's using tags that you can put anywhere.
Right. So I saw one magician. We actually had him perform here, and every aspect of his show was technology. And I would say that out of the 7 or 8 effects that he did, 6 of them failed to some degree. And
A calamity.
yeah. And that to me is the danger of, if you're relying on technology to perform your show.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, now I will tell you this as well. I just had the pleasure of watching a magician perform this weekend, and I would say the same thing. Unfortunately, his show cues, the tech, the remotes were in the pocket upside down, things like this, and completely screwed up the show. If he would have just maybe not even worried about the sound at that point and just realized that the show would have been even much better, just because you don't need those sounds necessarily. What's good is just the routines going through, and because of those bugaboos are happening, there's a lot of mental fog, we'll just call it, and having to carry on, which takes away from the show. So 1 point against technology there, right? That wasn't happening. It was not happening.
If you rely on it, you're putting yourself at great risk.
Right. Absolutely. But then again, that's the only time that's happened in many, many, many years for that person. So.
Right. All right. Anything to add?
Well, I mean, I suppose my only takeaway from this whole topic was that moderation is key.
Yeah,
because it's a blessing and it can be a curse. Obviously, we know of 2 magicians actually that have run into a situation where they were using too much, and the different technologies, at least for one of them, it was interfering with each other. Mm-hmm. So when he was trying to trigger one, it wouldn't trigger because of the other one and whatnot. It wasn't even that he was using the wrong triggers. It was just that the frequencies itself were not compatible with each other.
And I will challenge you on this: the magician you just saw on the stage that was flashing constantly, would that not be considered a fail in magic? Even though it's not technology based? Did he fail on stage because he's flashing as he's doing his manipulations?
And I guess my answer to that would be no, because it was so incredibly polished and smooth. It was like you said, is it something that I'm seeing because I know,
And how many times, though, to branch on that, how many times have you been at the castle and you've seen somebody fail at a double lift or a false shuffle or any of those other things? And those would technically be moments of failure when
in the technology.
You see, so it's very easy, I feel like, to see clearly the tech failed. You see, it was on and now it's off and it's not working. So it's easy to point the finger. But how many times have we seen magicians fail themselves? So dropping the manipulation ball and all that good stuff,
Right. But I will tell you that as a magician, when you fail, most magicians have some sort of out.
You should at least, right?
Cover.
It's all about the outs.
Yeah, and you best make sure that you prepare that same kind of cover if your technology fails.
Indeed.
You probably make it a little easier to recover if you're doing it acoustically. I noticed the technology, if your trick kind of leans into the technology and it relies on it, so to speak, if it fails, it's
well, if it's not impossible, right? If we do what I said, present it so it's really honoring the technology and really emphasizing how impossible it is. Unfortunately, if you do that and it does fail, you're a little screwed, right? There's really no
jumbo sidekick.
And then you say, well, then just create a routine where you could do it either way. But then it's like, all right, well, then you would just do it analog then at that point.
Yeah, right. Seriously.
Why would you even incorporate the text?
So jumbo sidekick.
It's a fun.
I've had triggers fail on jumbo sidekick, and if those triggers fail on jumbo sidekick, there is nowhere else for you to go.
You're SOL.
Yeah,
automatically.
And so you're literally just putting that trick aside and moving on.
Yep.
And so,
Yep. You
Yeah.
say, well, that's not going to work, folks.
Yeah.
I appreciate your patience.
but
I,
anyway,
egg on my face, and here it is.
yeah. Thank you all for listening. And
Are you done? You didn't even do the one that I was bringing in.
what were you bringing in?
It was perfectly for the technology. You just talked about.
Okay.
You talked about the.
You have 3 seconds. Go.
3 seconds.
Box is good.
Yes, very good. This is actually, speaking of technology, this one works perfectly. Actually, Greg, I think you had you made a really good point with this one, where not only is it your phone, or to go and excuse the fact that it's just your phone, so to speak, it's very personable. Because this, what Vox is, it's a card at any number that Siri tells you.
Or your Siri and another person's Siri as well. So there's different routines where you can even incorporate another person's Siri, like their actual Siri, which is pretty cool also.
And the whole idea is based off of your phone. The nice thing about it is it's not a fancy app.
Correct.
It's
It
just
is not
the
an
way
app. It is not
just the way you
internet.
phrase it.
It is not internet based.
Actually, no.
No, you can actually, it teaches you a very valuable tool in the Apple ecosystem, which is shortcuts, which I was unfamiliar with until Vox. So you can, without going too much into exposing it, so you actually buy Vox and check it out. That's basically what you're learning, is how to utilize shortcuts to do magic. And you could do some really, really cool magic by programming your shortcuts to do whatever you want, really, in the phone.
I was pretty blown away by it, because I had no idea you could use your phone in that way. So it's not, like I said, not a fancy app that you have to go and buy that's specific to the trick. It's actually something that is just a natural Siri.
It's teaching you how to use your already
Basically, how to
programmed phone.
Yeah, how to reprogram it. Yeah,
So-
to utilize for your own purpose.
So in that sense, again, is it something that is magic technology, or is it something that is organic that you're using in a new way?
Yeah, no, it's
Because
really
it's almost
cool.
like having just a deck of cards that you are
Correct.
learning how to use
It's a
appropriately.
digital. It's like you're learning a digital deck of cards or sleights.
Yeah.
Right, digital sleights.
It's a new slate.
It's learning digital sleights with your iPhone.
That's
Right, you're taking. Yeah, that's kind of interesting concept to think about. I haven't thought about it in that way.
yeah.
Fun.
So
All right.
that one's $25. Highly recommend it. Had no idea you could use your phone in that regard.
Good enough.
Definitely go and get it,
Anything in closing?
No, come buy some magic.
please.
This has been a Rough Edge Studios production.